Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. Bryce, and I'm with Susquehanna Valley High School in Conklin, New York. And what we're doing is we're doing Module 1, test number 4. This is a practice test. So the first question, is this a sentence or an algebraic equation? This is a sentence because there are no variables in it, and we can tell whether it's true or false. This is an algebraic equation because there are variables, and we don't know if it's true or false. Number 2. Is this true or false? Well, all you have to do is crunch the numbers. However, we know this is false because of the properties of exponents. This says, does 11 squared equal 25 plus 36? Does 121 equal 61? It's false. So we can do it two ways, through properties or through arithmetic. So here, this is a property. We have like bases. We can add the exponents. Or if you do the arithmetic, it asks you, does 8 times 32 equal 256? Yes, it does. Don't forget to answer the question. It is true. Multiple choice. Which of the following is an equation? The reason why I said multiple choice here is because it's not a several part question. So which of the following is an equation? Nope. Nope. Almost. Nope. That's an equation. Equal sign. Solve each of the following. Okay, so first thing we do is subtract 3 from both sides. We get 5x equals 20. Then we divide by 5. We're doing the opposite of the operations. We have x equals 4. We can check it if we want. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 3 is 23. It checks. Be careful when we're subtracting 3 from both sides here. We do the opposite of the operations. The first thing that's being done to the x is being multiplied by 6. The next thing is being added 3, so we do the opposite of it. We subtract 3 first. We're left with 6x equals negative 12. Divide by 6, divide by 6, x is negative 2. For this one, you can either add 2 first, or you can multiply by 4, distribute the 4. I'm going to add the 2, just a personal preference. You can either distribute the 4, or you can divide by 4. If you distribute the 4, which most of you are likely to do, make sure you distribute it to the positive 1. Do the inverse operations, subtract 4. Make sure you get negative 8. When you divide by 4, you get w equals negative 2. X's are on both sides of the equal sign, so I always move the smaller x's, so I'll deal with less negative signs. Negative 2 equals 2x plus 7. When you subtract 7 from both sides, negative 9 equals 2x. Dividing both sides by 2, it's okay to have decimals. Decimals happen in the real world all the time. Is there a solution? No solutions, or an infinite number of solutions to this question? Notice that this is worth 10% of the test grade. Okay, well, let's go through and find out if we solve for x. It's asking us if there's one answer, no answers, or lots of answers. First thing that I notice is if you have x's on the same side of the equal sign, you do the same thing that it tells you to, because we're combining it. The person on the left, George. George is on the left. Let's take a look at George. So here's George, and this is what George has. So what does he have? Over here, in his left hand, he has 3 x's. In his right hand, he has negative 5 x's. And in front of him in the desk, he has $2. This is Pete. Pete has negative $2 in his left hand, or negative 2 x's in his left hand, and 3 in the right. Do they have the same thing? Or when will they have the same thing? So I combine the 3x's and the 5x's, negative 5x's, and I get negative 2x plus 2. Pete over here, well, there wasn't anything to combine. Now George, on the left, what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine the x's. I'm going to combine George's and Pete's x's to try to get x all by itself. So it's easier to add 2x's to both sides. Now, negative 2x's plus 2x's is 0x's. So I'm not going to write anything down. I'm going to bring down the 2. And negative 2x's plus 2x's is 0x's. So the only thing I can bring down is the 3. When does 2 equal 3? Never. No solutions. Don't forget to write down your answer. And it says why? Because 2 can never equal 3. So I did a little bit of work on this one, just combined like terms, and if you notice immediately, 2x minus 17 and 2x minus 17, well, when is that going to be equal to each other? Always? What do you mean? Well, if we added 17 to both sides, we get 2x equals 2x. If we divide by 2, we get x equals x. When does x equal itself? Always. So there's an infinite number of solutions, because you can either write 2x equals 2x, or I'm going to write 2x minus 17 always equals 2x minus 17 for all real numbers. Okay, so there's a lot of background information here, and after you read through it, it says the question. You can determine how many worms there are using this equation. Don't get mixed up because there's an m there. That's the same thing as the y equals number. A person has to see a doctor if they're bitten by 100 worms in a day. They're hospitalized if they're bitten by 1,000 worms, and they're dead if they're bitten by 5,000 worms. Complete the table and explain to a patient what observations are based on the table. And I told you that for the test, I'm going to start off with the table being at 10. So we pull up our calculator. And we can type in the equation. Now let me show you how to type in the equation one more time. First thing you do is 0.02, or 0.2, sorry. You can put the parentheses in. Then you put a 2, close your parenthesis. The exponent key is right there. See it? It's in red. And then you have to hit the x. It's in red. How do you get out of it? You hit the right arrow. See, it's in red. And then you do minus 65. Now we want to look at the table. It's second graph. Now, you can scroll up or down, whatever you need to do to get to the 10. I'm going to put the 10 on top. Then you copy the table in here. However, you can't get bit by 8/10 of a worm. So you just type in the whole numbers. Now, complete the table and explain to a patient. Okay, so let's explain to a patient. Well, what I notice is that you have to see a doctor if you're bit by 100 worms in a day. Well, on the 10th day, you're going to have to see a doctor. You're hospitalized if you're bit by 1,000 worms. So it's not on the 12th day, it's only 754. On the 13th day, you're going to have to get hospitalized. And then on the 15th day, you're dead. Okay, so make sure you see the doctor on or before the 10th day. That's what I would explain to the patient. Solve this problem in 2 different ways, by distribution and reverse order of operations. So I distributed, and then I have to combine the 15 and the 6. So we get 3x minus 9 equals 36. Adding 9 to both sides because I'm using reverse operations. Well, wait a minute. It said solve by distribution. Well, the first thing they had to do is distribute, and then I use reverse operations from that point. Now, here, I get 3x equals 45. Divide both sides by 3. I get x equals 15. Now, over here, I have to solve by reverse order of operations. So the last thing that's being done to the x is adding 6. So the first thing I have to do is subtract 6. Now, the next to last thing that's being done is I multiply my answer by 3. So I have to divide my answer by 3. Now, the first thing that's being done to the x is subtracting 5. So that's the last thing is I add 5. And you'll notice we have exactly the same answer. Make sure that I did solve this problem in 2 different ways. Yes, solve by distribution, solve by reverse order of operations. Done. Okay, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, I left the problem off, so I quickly typed up a problem. These 2 questions look a lot alike, but there's one important difference. Describe the difference. Well, let me see. The biggest difference is the fact that the plus 4 on the first problem is not within the fraction. With the second problem, it is. So the impact it has on the solving process is that on the left-hand side, the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 4. On the right-hand side, the first thing I'm going to do is combine like terms on the top of the fraction. So again, the plus 4 is the important difference. It is not within the fraction on the first problem. It is within the fraction on the second problem. And the impact it has on the solving process is that the first step I'm going to do on the left-hand side is subtract 4. The first step I'm going to do on the right-hand side is combine like terms. Consider this equation. Fill in with the justification. So what property did I use? First thing, looks like I did 4x, 4 times x and 4 times 2. Why can we do that? Distributive property. Then what's going on here? Looks like that order changed. Order changed with addition and subtraction. Actually, just with addition. It's commutative property of addition. Combine like terms for the next step. Justification. If you notice, what happened here? That's what that arrow is saying. So from here, what happened there? I added 2 to both sides. So it's called the additive property of equality because I am adding 2 to both sides. Okay, so we have to fill in the word here. What's happening to the minus 2 plus 2 that it becomes nothing? They are additive inverses of each other. Opposites. We're adding the opposite. We're adding negative 2 and positive 2 together. Okay, so I divided both sides by 2. That is the multiplicative property of equality. Remember, even though I'm not multiplying or dividing an equation by the same number on both sides of the equal sign make them equal. So it's a multiplicative property, multiplication property of equality. Great. If you have any questions, make sure you ask me first thing in class. This is a review for the test. Have a great day.